Hi everyone, you're watching Truck and Trailer, your Rugby World Cup betting show. And yes, we've got 4 games to look forward to after a day off. It felt kind of strange, although I must point out I was at work. But nothing to bet on today. And a man who I think returned to work this week after a long layoff on the couch. His leg is almost back to its best. He's in rehab at the moment. But the big question is, does that mean less betting for him? It's Couch Critic. How are you, Couch?
Hi Brent, welcome back, and thanks for taking the reins back. And yeah, now I'm back oppie been, as I say, and in more ways than one. I got my World Cup betting back on track this past weekend, so that was good. I've really kept the powder dry, but kept losing little amounts on little bets, and then finally got really sunk my teeth into that Georgia handicap. So I'm pretty much in love with Georgia at the moment. If I could get a jersey, I'd buy it. So that was great. And then obviously the hookers were good to me this weekend.
Excellent. Yeah, I must say I've also come back quite nicely. I had a very bad that start on that first Sunday, and then I sort of eased off, and I've actually certainly in the good for the game previews been doing fairly well. And also betting wise as well, I had quite a lumpy bet on Wales to win, and of course not World Cup related, but those of us who were on the newsletter, who got the newsletter last week, and I must thank Hendrik for that one, were very firmly on the cheaters minus that was on Friday night. I mean, Oracle was also on the minus there, but no sign of the lad. Couch, he seems to have disappeared.
No, Masa, I thought that cheetah bet put us all back on the map, and I thought we'd have a granny's pension fund happiness, but apparently she's not booked into some nice place in Georgia, and she's still struggling in the little flatter teams.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I had a quick chat with Oracle today. I can tell you guys he has taken a bit of punishment, but he says he's going to lie low. He's not calling the group stage as well, but he fancies himself for a strong comeback. I can tell you in the knockout stages. I'm also looking forward to the knockouts, but plenty of group action until we get there. And Couch, let's quickly have a look. I'm going to quickly share my screen here. I've got World Sports Betting. I've got the outright markets. Can you see that there? New Zealand 13-10, South Africa 4-1, England 9-2. We've got Wales at 10-1. They've shortened slightly after beating Australia. Ireland on the drift at 14-1. And interesting, I'll just want to run through the prices and we can have a quick chat about each team. Australia, what's at 18-1, and France 35-1. So let's start there with the All Blacks, Couch. They've been very stable. I've seen as big as 16-10 before the tournament started, but they're very much hovering around the 12-13-10 mark now.
Brent, I think it's actually a little bit probably indicative of this World Cup that they haven't really strengthened after that first game. You might have thought, listen, that was going to be their biggest challenge early on, and they could have slipped up there, and they didn't yet. 13-10 was pretty much what I've seen about before, and so it is a little bit strange, but it backs up my feeling that I don't think they were that impressive in that match against us. There was a 10-minute spell, and that's about it. So they've probably still got a few things to do, and especially with that possibility of the Japan throwing a spanner in the works there, and Ireland finishing second, it could mean a tougher quarterfinal for New Zealand. So you could actually see them having a bit of a tougher run than some people might have expected. So yeah, definitely not going to be running to the shops, betting shops there for that 13-10 at this stage.
Yeah, I must say I'm also not on. I haven't been convinced about New Zealand yet. That being said, I'm more worried about New Zealand now than I was at the start of the tournament. I thought they were very impressive against us without showing their hand. And at the end of the day, it's not that I do think the 2015 New Zealand side's much or significantly better than this one. But I'm just not sure which team has really put their hands up and said they're going to be able to beat New Zealand. And I'm not convinced either that I'd be flying into the 4-1 South Africa, Couch.
I must say, Brent, that's probably the other way of looking at it. We could say New Zealand weren't that impressive, or I don't think they were that impressive. But if you look at that, there's who's really gonna trip New Zealand up at this stage. They've beaten the box now. They've shown they can do it. They've shown they figured a few things out in terms of the rush defense. England, they've flattered to deceive or haven't really impressed in those first 2 games, but we all know they'll keep something in the tank and really come out hard. But we'll only know about England, and we should actually get quite a decent indicator in the 2 coming games for them there. I don't see them slipping up against either France or Argentina, but it's just those nice kind of tester games to really get them into the competition. So that's going to be crucial. And then obviously we've all seen Wales. It'd probably be a little bit of a surprise that Wales didn't strengthened a little bit there on a solid showing and obviously beating Australia. A lot of people expected that, but there was also a hint of concern there for them perhaps with that finish. Australia were going great guns, and they did look like they ran out of puff a little bit and were pretty much lambs to the slaughter in the last half an hour almost. So probably a few concerns there for Wales as well as the good news. I don't know what your impression was of that game.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the whole game, so I missed a lot of Wales' good work, if I can put it that way. And I saw them hanging on against an Australia side that actually really did impress me in that second half. So yeah, I'm not convinced they'd be climbing into Wales. I do think they're going to find, they're going to find a team better than them at some point. Certainly, I'm not convinced. Australia. I just see Joe Lyons saying Australia 18-1 is a big price, and I also don't think Australia are going to win it, but I have to agree with him. I think, the way Australia showed in that second half, they played some really good rugby there. They could be tempting. The interesting one for me, though, is Ireland at 14-1. It's a question of what to read into that Japan game, because like Joe, I actually fancy Scotland will now beat Japan. And I'm still seeing Ireland as topping this group, but only just. I take them to get 10 points in their final two games. And Japan potentially... a 5-pointer in one of the others and go down to Scotland. So I think Ireland could still top the group. So going to be very interesting. 14-1 is now starting to look a little bit tempting for me. And France 35-1. Well, they've shown nothing so far to suggest that they will do it. But of course, they're only really in action for the second time tomorrow. So let's see how they go. But France at 35-1. I think that's about it as far as the as far as the action goes. I just want to look at the other. You want me to have a look at the top tournament try scorer markets quickly, see if they've priced up?
Yeah, please. And then the point scorers. But the only one I want to add there is you just got to...
They haven't priced up. That hasn't been refreshed. So we give that
okay,
one
otherwise you can check Sunbet. I don't know if you wanted to do that.
Sunbet, let me have a look at...
just what I wanted to say on the 14-1 is they probably did price in a little bit of the factor that if Scotland do beat Japan, to me it's significant that to me they non-runners if Japan do beat Scotland. I don't see Ireland being able to beat New Zealand in a quarter-final, England in a semi-final, and then going on to win a final. To me that'll be just too much to ask of someone who's trying to do it for a first time. So it's, yes, there's a little bit of value to the 14-1, but the value is if you're a believer, as you said you are, Brent, in Scotland beating Japan rather than the other way around. But just on that result as well, I know you guys have already spoken about it, but I think it was a brilliant result for the tournament. That just really, I think I told some people today, it must be the most incredible World Cup to physically be at. I think the atmosphere has got to be incredible there, It looks like the people have really bought into it, the locals, and after that victory, it must be absolutely brilliant there at the moment.
Right, well, I've brought up Sunbet's prices there. So that is now the top try scorer. So we've got Mapimpi there now at 5-1 couch. We've got Rico Ione, who, of course, gets his big chance tomorrow against Canada. He's 7-1. George Bridge, who has got on the score sheet already, 9-1. Montoya, Argentina. He's the hooker, is he not? You must be happy to see that, 9-1.
He is indeed, Brent, and the big news for me there is I've got Julian Montoya to be Argentinian best try scorer at double-figure prices, so that was fantastic. He's comfortably leading that, so I'm hoping he's holding on there. But to us, the concern is Sibo Rees there. He's gone out to 10-1, but he's not playing this weekend, and he hasn't gotten on the board yet, so that's a bit of a worry. But some of the guys who've gotten on Mapimpi as top box try scorer and maybe top outright try scorer, they're in a decent place right now, and probably hoping that and he's obviously getting a go against Italy. Hopefully he can get one there, and then maybe he'll just sneak. If he sneaks a game against Canada, then you're looking good on Mapimpi. But there's not really Rico. I think I've seen him as big as 9-1 now. That could be something to consider, but as it's a big call. He needs to really chalk up at least to this coming weekend to make him a runner in terms of the top try scorer. And he probably needs to force his way into the first team.
Excellent. Well, the boys in the live chat, and welcome to them, the likes of Joe Lyons and Chris are there talking about the Scotland, and I guess the big game that's looming there is Scotland-Japan. But let's get on to the four games that we're actually going to talk about, Couch, and that is starting tomorrow with France against the USA. Now, I've noted the handicaps, and I'm not going to share the screen, but I'll pop onto World Sports Betting and get their handicap. I noticed it was 24.5, and it shortened last time I looked at 23.5, which is where it is now. But I mean, the Shrudies on the forum got on 28.5. I don't know if you were one of them. And there has been a lot of support here for the US. And I guess part of the reason here is that ultimately France really just need to go out and win this game.
Yeah, listen, Brent, I've gone both ways here. You know, I've thought when I saw you guys come out of some of the comments at 28, it was great and it made a lot of sense. But I did my preview early and I got, I don't know if it was 22.5 or 23.5, and I just thought that to me sounds a little bit short. I know it's at the front there are a few new faces for France that we're not exactly sure about, and they had the whole incident of calling up a guy who was injured, and so there's a little bit of your normal French chaos in the system. But to me, it's just, you know, I know some people say don't use the old cliche and whatever, but France could win by 50 or they could lose this game. I mean, that's just the way the French are. But it's extremely attacking, full of flair backline, and as far as I can see, it looks like the weather is pretty much going to hold. If it doesn't, I've got another theory about that as well. So to me, I think you know, you're always going to be in the game at around the 20 mark, and France could stretch away. The only thing I would like or wanted to say was I was actually I was perhaps surprisingly slightly impressed with USA. I don't think they were as poor as the scoreline showed, and I thought they had a little bit of fight. And the place I went was to look at some at the away team points. I was hoping that you can get there in around 10 and try and get USA for that, because you know, I could see France still slipping in a try, as you said. You know, worry about a little bit of attack maybe, and not so much their defense, and let in a try with Josefa on the wing or McGinty doing some magic at fly off. So that's where I was looking. But I must say the 13.5 is a few points more than I wanted. So I'm still going to try and shop around there on USA points.
Yeah, just actually having popped over now to Sunbet and having a look here. Yeah, they're 11.5 points on the USA. So is that more or less where you'd be looking?
Yeah, I'll give you my best bet at the end. I'll take a little alternative there that I saw at Sunbet. I'm going to take the one leg of my double is 8.5, over 8.5 points. If you you know, take the bigger price is 8.5, over 8.5 points USA, and then I'll throw it into a double in one of the later games.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I've gone good for the game preview there. I've gone plus 24.5 France. Not the strongest of picks, I must say. Like you say, France could be anything. Sorry, I've gone plus 24.5 USA, of course. If you can get plus 24.5 France, well, then you're all over that one. But I've gone for the USA there. I do think they'll beat the handicap. Not a game I'm going to be able to watch, though, so I won't have too much betting interest in that one. So let's move on to the second game tomorrow, and that's the biggest handicap of the tournament so far, Couch. We've got the USA taking on, we've got New Zealand taking on Canada. And here the cap has opened up about 65.5, and there's generally 67.5, 68.5 on offer at the moment. Total points line, I'm just looking at Sunbet now, is 78.5. What are your thoughts on this one?
Brent, just quickly there, again, my try scorer for the previous game, my better limb special was obviously people probably expect the hooker call there, but I'd go for Pika Moles on this one. He's back in the French team, leading them from 8 men. So I'm going to take Pika Moles to be the first try scorer. I've got him at 16-1. So to me, even if they do a maul close to the line, hopefully he pulls rank and tries to get to the ball. Otherwise, he's good at close range to try and muscle it over the line. So to me, he's a bit of value at 16-1. Onto this, obviously, it's a huge handicap. If there's one team in the world that can cover a big handicap, it's New Zealand. You don't take too much out of the warm-ups, but they showed against Tonga that they can, really fire at all cylinders. And to me, New Zealand are also one of those teams that, they never take their foot off the pedal. They super professional and they keep going for 80 minutes. The only concern is previously in World Cups, they like to try a few things and not really stick to their strategy that they know will work for 80 minutes. They like to think in advance and try a move and maybe they'll try moving Jordie Barret to fly off in the second half. So there is going to be a little bit of risk in the minus, but I mean, this is New Zealand and they're playing Canada. I just can't see myself on the plus there, unfortunately. I know we'll get quite a lot of guys. I think they feel the minnows on the plus, but I think you were tagged in it as well today that not as much of the plus handicaps from the minnows have delivered as people think. In terms of the real minnows against strong guys, it's probably about 50-50. So there's not really such a big advantage there either way, or tipping the scales either way. So I don't know in which camp you are there, Brent.
No, that's it. It's been, look, these big handicaps have, I don't know, South Africa came close, I suppose, to beating it against Namibia. They weren't quite impressive. There's no doubt that if New Zealand bring their A game, that they'll probably, run away with us quite comfortably. The one thing I did note, and I'm just looking at my preview now on the Good for the Game website, where I took a unit, I think it was just a unit play here, but I took 61 to 70 points winning margin at 9-2 at BetExchange. I thought that was a pretty big price. I don't expect it to move much if they've got it. It's not the sort of bet people are going to climb into. But the reason I did that was I picked up a little bit of humidity in the weather forecast. And I'm going to go to that forecast now and just see if we can have a look at that. And as much as people will look for rain and wind and all of that, the first thing I look for, Couch, when I'm looking at a weather forecast is at humidity level. And my guideline is when the humidity gets over 80%, that's when I think that conditions get tough. And make no mistake, New Zealand will still score lots of tries. But I do think then that Canada are going to offer very little. And that sort of margin of 60 to 70, perhaps New Zealand will butcher a few tries that they would have got in conditions like when they played Tonga in the warm-up.
Isn't this in the closed stadium though, Brent?
Sure, but if it is, then it could possibly be. I see Chris has put a weather forecast here. If it is closed, I wouldn't ignore the humidity factor. At the end of the day, I find some of those closed stadiums actually get even more humid. So, I would imagine somehow or other, if the air is humid, it's got to get inside, and there could still be an issue there. So, just something to bear in mind, to have a look at the humidity factor there. So, I'm going, as I say, it's a speculative play. It won't do too much damage. Let's have a look what Rob's gone for here. He's gone New Zealand over 10.5 tries. Looks better than taking minus 67. Probably need 1 try to get past, 11 tries he meant to get past there anyway. Close, I think we must just confirm if it is a closed stadium. But it's the guys in the live chat just chatting about that. So, just a unit for me on this one, Couch. Anything you got there from a try scorer's point of view?
Yeah, I'll get into. I'm actually quickly trying to see. I'm pretty sure this was the closed stadium with the pretty good air conditioning. So I'm not quite in the multi-purpose stadium. I'm pretty sure this is the dome stadium that closes and the dome does work. So no, I think this one closes. But it's tough doing that handicap. As I said, I was trying to look again. I think New Zealand will still be professional and put up a good showing on defense. So I'm trying to look for something on Canada there to not score a try, or I think they'll probably get 3 points or something like that. And at this stage, I saw 6.5 was the line on Canada, which I like because it gives me the option of if they do score a try, hopefully they miss the conversion. It could be 1 in the corner or 2 penalties. Still gets me under 6.5. So obviously 7.5. Canada was where I would like to go, but 6.5 is what I've seen at this stage. That's probably the nibble I'd take. And the other thing is I've seen the stat of the halftime results, and surprisingly that's almost been the biggest one where you've had the underdogs or against the bigger guys. Is the dogs have been almost covered at I think 75% of the time or something like that. So my halftime plays haven't been that successful. So I also wouldn't lump a lot on New Zealand. And at 32.5 is the halftime cap. I saw that's a lot of points to rack up in one half of rugby. So I also wouldn't look there. But on the 6.5 Canada, that's where I'm going. Under 6.5 Canada. Try scorers, I've got Adi Sevilla, last try scorer. I think that's a decent runner. He's on the bench. I don't expect him to play half an hour or something like that, but 15 minutes could be enough for Adi, and he's going to roam free. So that's a good price. I think it's 27-2 that I got there. And then keep an eye out for Rico. I've got the three tries or more at 2.5. And I think Rico is going to eye out quite a number of tries there. So that's where I'm going for that one.
Well, Nico Oliver making the point there that Scotland Samoa was in a closed stadium and conditions were very humid. So, yeah, conditions could be interesting there. There was a bet I saw at Sunbet, and it was Canada to not score a try. And I think it was somewhere around the 27-20 mark, which if you looked at their points line 6.5, it might be better than taking the 9 to 10, the 6.5. Obviously, there's a chance that they score the 5 points exactly and miss the conversion, and you might be kicking yourself. But you always feel a team like this has potentially got a chance of getting a penalty. But I do think they're gonna struggle to get over the line. Couch, that takes us then onto the Thursday's action, which we'll talk about now because we're not going to do a show tomorrow night, but we will be back, of course, with the big weekend show, the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. That's 9 o'clock on Friday night, where we'll have a full panel. No Oracle, I'm afraid. He's still in hiding. Georgia against Fiji, and here I see Georgia plus 9.5. Now, as you said, the Georgians have got some good memories for you so far in this tournament, and I see Henrik on the Good for the Game forum is quite bullish on Georgia. He says they're poor conditions, it's going to suit their forward pack, and he's also taken a bit of 5-2 that they win the match.
Yeah, as I said, I was very, very chuffed for Georgia. Short turnaround for them, which was a little bit of a concern for this game, but they've gone back to their top performance or their A team, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but there is something to keep in mind. And then it went as low as Fiji, 7.5, and I must say, I got convinced there into thinking, okay, 7.5 is quite short, and Fiji play an open, expansive game. They could pull away quite easily if things click for them. But I must say, then reading Heinrich, and then I was obviously stalking AccuWeather there, and I saw it's probably about a 60% chance for rain at kickoff around 3 o'clock. So I 100% agree with him there. If it's going to be a bit rainy, Georgia are going to keep it in the forwards. They got one heck of a pack of forwards there. They're going to really try and outmuscle Fiji. And there's also one thing to keep in mind is a little bit of problems in the Fijian camps. Apparently, everything isn't hunky-dory there. So definitely the 9.5 is looking more and more attractive to me as a decent punt.
Excellent. Well, I can see my traditional sound. We know it's definitely a 9:15 thing, because we've never done a show on a Tuesday night. And my sound's going a bit haywire. With a one-on-one show, it's not too bad, though. I'll probably stay on the line to you, Cut. I might just try to change connections while you're chatting. But even if I do, I certainly won't be gone long. This game, I haven't had a close look at it yet. But I do, the fact that Henrik's come in so bullish has me leaning towards Georgia on the handicap there as well. Just want to stop at this point and say, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing quite well in the Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is Super Brew pool, which has got a first prize, if I remember correctly, of about, what would it be? We had 67 players, so that's 30. It's about 17,000 first prize. You're doing okay there, Couch?
Yeah, I think I've snuck into a top 5 or something like that. I know in most of my pools I'm doing decently, but it's always those 50-50 kind of tipping games, like the Wales Aussie one, which is important. And I mean that France Argentina early on, those guys could have gone either way. So I've been lucky, and again we're going to be asked some serious questions on that. I always look almost in advance, and the Scotland Japan one is going to be a pretty big decider. I think that's also going to be split at best 60-40. So that's going to be a crucial one. But no, if I can get that one right, then I'm there at the business end. So hopefully, if the betting doesn't deliver too much, hopefully Superbrew can pay out a little bit, eh?
Yeah, look, it'll be a nice one to hit. I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, I'm sitting in 41st out of 67 players, but I'm only 4 points off the gallop. And, my big mistake really was taking the South Africa to beat New Zealand. I changed at the last minute. But hoping I can come right and still get back in contention on that one. Couch, anything more on that game before we move on to the Ireland game?
Yeah, the only one is a little bit of a sneaky punt there is Georgia to lead at halftime, Fiji to win the game. If it's going to be a little bit of a tight one, bit of wet weather around, Georgia to keep it close. As I said, only had a 3-day turnaround. Maybe they run out of legs at the end. And if you can get about 6-1, I think that's a nice little runner. And you hope Georgia can give you 40 minutes of effort. The best thus far I've seen is 11-2, but hopefully we can squeeze out a 6-1 there. So that's where I'll look for a bit of an interest. And then, as I said, at this stage, I think I might load up a bit more on the 9.5 handicap.
Excellent. Well, Nico Olivier mentioning that Henrik and Johan Loopstra is also a regular on our show. They're having a bride together, and they're preaching Jack Goodhue anytime try scorer at Sunbet at 11-10. And I would have to say, I mean, is Jack Goodhue on the bench, Couch? Can you remember? Because
Brent, I think you're starting to struggle there, Brent, on your signal.
About any start in that New Zealand side would be
Yeah, listen on that one. Hopefully, I can talk over Brent on this one. Jock Gidew is starting. Sonny Bull is the inside centre at 12, and Jack Gidew is going to be starting the mullet at outside centre. Obviously, at 13 to 10 is good value, but if you look around at that entire lineup, it's almost difficult crossing off. You think won't score. Shannon Frizzell has got a decent chance of getting a try. He's rather hungry. Obviously, whoever plays hooker for them every time will have a chance to get over for a score. And then, as I said, I've got Adi Sevilla coming off the bench. Moanga at 10. I mean, he's a pretty decent try scorer. So there are loads of options. And then, obviously, as I said, I've got Rico to score a hat-trick. So if he gets 3, it doesn't leave that much for the rest of them. Jordie Barret, Bowden Barrett off the back. I mean, that's just they chock full of potential try scorers, but definitely 13 to 10. I mean, that's decent value. And if you don't mind the mullet, then get on, and you should be cheering him home to get you a 5-pointer. So no, definitely worth the interest. I'm actually surprised he's that big, because I mean a TJ Paranara is about 5 to 10. So that is pretty impressive, that price.
Yeah, it's a good price. I don't think it'll last long, especially now that Henrik and you hadn't mentioned, and we've told everyone is going to be watching the show over the next few hours or so.
Brent, obviously, it must be they must be into a few brandies, because usually Hendrik doesn't go to the try scorers. So clearly he's getting his ear twisted there.
Couch, I'm going to apologize. I'm back on my Wi-Fi. I can't hear you very clearly, hey. So don't ask me any questions if you don't mind. We'll just talk about the game. I can hear bits and pieces. I'm going to have to change my Wi-Fi service provider. There's no doubt about that. Couch, let's move on then to the last game, and that is on Thursday, and it's Ireland. They're obviously big favourites here against Russia. minus 53.5 at WSP. Popping onto Sunbet, you can get minus 52.5 there. And, I mean, this game for me is a big handicap. But, I mean, if I'm reading this pool correctly, Ireland have got to chase a bonus point, which we expect them to get easily. But I think they're going to be looking to improve their points difference as well.
Yeah, exactly, Brent. I was a little bit surprised. My first inclination was to try and get into the minus there. I was hoping to try and get as small a minus as I could get, because I was exactly the same opinion as you. I think Ireland have got in the back. I don't think they're going to need it at the end of it all, to be honest. But the perception out there is that they're going to probably need some points difference as well. So they should be chasing that, and I think they'll put the Ruskies away big time. I know it's not exactly their first choice team, especially in the pack, but it's a dangerous backline. Sexton is back, and Earls and Carney is still at fullback. Ringrose in there. I mean, that's a dangerous backline. So if they do click, they can really put the Russians away. I haven't checked the stadium or the weather or anything like that, but my first thought is I'm relatively interested. I won't go for the plus on this one. Let's just say that I'm not interested in the plus at this stage. But definitely considering a play on the minus. I think this is going to be a determined and a hurting Ireland team that are going to look to put the boot in.
Yeah, I'm going for the minus here on this one. Just a welcome to Henrik, who's standing by the braai, probably watching on his phone, and he's saying that Justin, who of course used to work for GG Gaming, put him onto that one. Just said the price is too good, and I'm prepared to take you a bet that 11 to 10 won't be there come kickoff on that game on Goodhue. For me in the Ireland game, I'm going Ireland here. You can get minus 52.5. I think it was with Sunbet. That's my bet, but also not a big interest. You'll probably pick up that I'm holding my fire at this point. I'm waiting for the playoffs, which is when I really want to get involved. And I'm still planning a big outright punt at some stage because I'm not that involved yet. Couch, anything else before we wrap the show up?
No, Brent, I just want to say I'm exactly the same as you there. I've looked to try and pick it. I haven't really anything has stood out for me on the handicaps. I keep giving my advice or giving my opinion on what I think is going to be the better one, but the only one that's really stood out to me as something to to chase hard was the Georgia one, and I'm glad I've gone for that approach. And it's not often that I stick to my own rules. So I'm pretty happy at this stage how I've done it. And again, even out of those 4 games, nothing really stands out to me, and that's why I go for some try scorers and things like that, just to have a nice interest. But I must say, probably out of those 4, the Island one does look decent, and I understand some people really being involved on the USA one. As I said, I could see that going very close or going the other way. The only thing is, I just want to complete my double there. My double was on the 8.5, over 8.5 points. USA to get over 8.5 points, and then the extended handicap on Georgia about 14.5, and then you'll get a 13 to 10 double, which to me is the best play for me out of those 4 games.
It seems like the boys have been having a few brandies with the Brighton out, and Nick is saying that the brandies are going to flow at the Durbanville racecourse on Saturday. Can you believe it, Couch? I've got my daughter's got another water polo tournament on Saturday. This time it is at least in Joburg, but it means I'm going to probably be watching the Bok game on my phone. But my signal can only be better than my Wi-Fi, though.
Brent, the only thing is, I remember you saying somewhere along the line you were watching at the school's bar or something. So clearly, schools are definitely taking it a step up these days, since they've all got bars, it seems.
Since they've all got, sorry, I missed you there, Couch.
They've all got bars.
Oh, bars, yes. I don't know if this school's got a bar, but certainly the one I was at on the weekend had a bar. It was great. But I'm hoping there is one that I can go and watch, or at least a TV that I can go and watch the game, because I don't want to miss this. I do think that Italy are gonna push us very close, and I'm really looking forward to discussing with all of the boys on Thursday night's handicap show about that Italy-South Africa handicap. Couch, that's it for me. I like that unit on the New Zealand 61 to 70. And then my next best bet is Ireland minus 52.5. I'll also look at Russia points there as an alternative. I think they're going to be really strong on defense there, and I think they're going to keep the Russians out, possibly even null them. So that's my betting strategy over the next 2 days. But add any other thoughts, and then we'll close out. And thanks to all the guys in the live chat. Of course, Fat Exorcist just making the point that he thinks Italy could still win the game.
Cheers, Brett. I look forward to having a chat there. I think I do think that the handicap is well said. We'll talk about the Italy Bok game, but I don't see the Boks stumbling over that one. I think there's zero chance of an upset there. We'll do the business, and then I agree with you. Ireland will probably keeping Russia to null might be a decent option as a punt there. As I said, I'm going for the double, which I've mentioned. That's my play to look out for, but. Yeah, I'm just looking forward. There's cricket and rugby tomorrow, so I might be back at work, but they should expect me to be on DSTV now.
Excellent, Couch. Thanks very much. Thanks to all the guys in the live chat. And remember, our newsletter comes out later in the week. Let's see if we can hit another winner there. Look forward to Thursday night show. And also stay close to our forum thread. Plenty of bets coming on there throughout the week. If you are new to the channel, do go down below and subscribe. We'll see you Thursday night, 9 o'clock for the handicap.